A family's anguish. Imagine the pain, the unbearable ache of a missing loved one. A daughter, a sister, a friend vanished. Days turn into weeks, weeks bleed into months. Hope flickers, then fades. The family of Jessie Peterson lived this nightmare.
They searched, they prayed, they clung to fading hope. They distributed flyers, her smiling face a painful reminder of their loss. They organized search parties, their footsteps heavy with despair. They knocked on doors, each unanswered question deepening their anguish. Their beloved Jessie was gone.
But their agonizing search was shrouded in a cruel twist of fate. A secret hidden within the sterile walls of a local hospital. A secret that would shatter their world once more. A secret that would transform their grief into outrage.
A shocking revelation. For over a year, they searched for Jessie, unaware that she was never truly missing. She wasn't lost in some distant city, a victim of unknown circumstances. She wasn't living a new life, unaware of the pain she left behind. The truth, when it finally surfaced, was far more sinister, far more horrifying. Jessie had been dead all along, her lifeless body, not lost in the wilderness, but lying forgotten in a cold, sterile morgue, abandoned, disregarded, left to decompose while her family was tormented by her absence. How could this happen? How could a hospital, a place meant for healing, fail so catastrophically? How could they simply forget about Jessie, leaving her family to grapple with the agonizing unknown? These are the questions that demand answers. This is the story of Jessie Peterson, a young woman failed by the very system that should have protected her. A life cut short. Jessie Peterson, a vibrant young woman of 31, was more than just a missing persons poster. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend. Her infectious laughter and warm smile could light up a room. She had dreams, aspirations, a life waiting to be lived. Friends described her as a ray of sunshine, always willing to lend a helping hand, always there to brighten someone's day. Her kindness was genuine, her spirit infectious.
Jessie was known for her love of animals, often volunteering at local shelters. She had a special place in her heart for strays, believing every creature deserved a loving home. Her compassion knew no bounds, extending even to the smallest, most vulnerable creatures. Her absence left a gaping hole.
The silence was deafening, the void impossible to fill. Little did they know that their search for answers would lead them to a truth more horrifying than they could have ever imagined.
A history of illness. Jessie's life was marked by significant challenges. Diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at a young age, she faced her condition with remarkable resilience. Jessie meticulously managed her health, never allowing her diagnosis to define her. She approached each day with determination, living life to the fullest despite her illness. Jessie maintained a positive outlook despite the constant vigilance required to manage her diabetes. She found joy in simple pleasures, a walk in the park, a good book, and the company of loved ones. Her strength inspired everyone who knew her. Her family provided unwavering support and love. They navigated the complexities of her condition together, always ready to lend a helping hand and offer comfort. Little did they know their strength would soon be tested in unimaginable ways. A cry for help. On April 6th, 2023, Jessie's strength was tested once again. A diabetic episode struck, sending her reeling, her vision blurred, her body weakened. Fear gripped her heart. She reached for the phone, her lifeline in this moment of crisis. She dialed a familiar number, the digits etched in her memory. Her mother, Ginger, always knew what to do.
"Jessie, what's wrong?" Jessie's voice was strained, a whisper escaping her trembling lips.
Mom, I don't feel good. I need help.
"I'm on my way, sweetheart. Just stay calm, I'll be there soon." An ambulance wailed, its siren a piercing reminder of the urgency of the situation.
Jessie was transported to Mercy San Juan Medical Center in Carmichael, California. Her family rushed to the hospital, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. They waited anxiously for news, their faces etched with worry. This cry for help would lead to something shocking and equally horrifying: silence. Hours, crawled by, each tick of the clock an eternity. The sterile hospital walls seemed to close in, suffocating them with their silence. Where was Jessie? How was she doing? Why hadn't the doctors told them anything? The lack of information was agonizing, their hope slowly draining away, replaced by a gnawing dread. Finally, a doctor spoke to them over the phone, his voice weary. He confirmed what they already suspected. Jessie had been discharged a couple of days after being admitted. But the truth was far more sinister. The family clung to his every word, desperate for any glimmer of hope. A year later, the police arrived at their home with devastating news. Jessie's decomposed body had been discovered in the hospital morgue. She had passed away on April 8, 2023. Her fight was over, her spirit finally at peace. But for her family, a new battle was just beginning. A battle for answers, for justice, for accountability. A battle that would expose a shocking truth and leave them grappling with the unthinkable. A shocking discovery. In the sterile, cold environment of the hospital morgue, a horrifying truth lay hidden. Jessie Peterson, a young woman full of life, lay forgotten. Her body, meant to be treated with dignity and respect, was relegated to a shelf, a number, a nameless case. The hospital, a place of healing, had become her final resting place, not through a peaceful passing, but through a series of negligent acts that defy comprehension. The family, unaware of their daughter's fate, embarked on a year-long search, and their hearts ached with each passing day, their hope dwindling with each dead end. They distributed flyers with her picture, her vibrant smile a stark contrast to their growing despair. They organized search parties, their footsteps heavy with the weight of their loss.
They knocked on doors, their voices hoarse from pleading for information, clinging to the slimmest chance that she was still out there. Meanwhile, Jessie's body remained unclaimed, her presence erased from the hospital's records. No explanation was given, no responsibility taken.
The hospital staff, sworn to care for the sick and dying, had seemingly forgotten her existence. How could this happen? How could a system designed to protect and heal fail so catastrophically?
Unanswered questions. Yes, the hospital's silence left the family with more questions than answers. Why wasn't the family notified immediately? Why was Jessie's death kept from the family? Why did the hospital staff fail to follow the basic protocols for handling a deceased patient? The negligence was staggering, showing a blatant disregard for human life and the sanctity of death. The family, desperate for answers, received none. They were left to grapple with their grief, their search for Jessie ending in the most devastating way imaginable. The hospital's silence was a deafening roar, a testament to their utter disregard for the human cost of their negligence. Why was Jessie's mother, listed as her next of kin, misinformed? Why was she told that her daughter had been discharged, a cruel fabrication that fueled their false hope? These questions gnawed at their sanity, each unanswered question a testament to the hospital's cold indifference. A family's nightmare. The family's nightmare was far from over. Discovering Jessie's fate after a year of agonizing uncertainty was only the beginning of their ordeal. The image of their beloved Jessie, her body left to decompose in a cold, sterile morgue, haunted their waking hours. The thought of her lying there, forgotten and alone, was an unbearable torment. The hospital's negligence had robbed them of the chance to say goodbye, to grieve properly, to find closure. It had transformed their grief into a burning rage, a thirst for justice that refused to be silenced. The $15 million lawsuit they filed was not about money, it was about accountability, about holding the hospital responsible for their callous disregard for human life.
The family's fight was far from over. They were determined to expose the truth, to ensure that no other family would have to endure the same agonizing ordeal.
They were determined to be Jessie's voice, to seek justice for her, and to hold those responsible accountable for their negligence.
Days turned to weeks. The days after Jessie's disappearance were a blur of frantic activity. Ginger, her heart heavy, with a mother's intuition that something was terribly wrong, refused to believe her daughter had simply walked away. Jessie, despite her health challenges, was a creature of habit, always in touch with her loved ones. Her sudden silence was deafening, a screaming alarm in Ginger's soul. The family's search for Jessie was relentless, their hope unwavering even as the days turned to weeks.
Please, if anyone knows anything, just tell us. We need to find Jessie. We need to bring her home.
Jessie's family scoured the city and throughout its surrounding neighborhoods looking for her, calling out her name.
Jessie!
Jessie! Sweetheart, where are you?
The family rallied, their shared love for Jessie fueling their determination to find her. Flyers with Jessie's picture, her warm smile, a painful reminder of their loss, were printed by the hundreds. They were plastered on telephone poles, shop windows, and community bulletin boards, a desperate plea for information echoing across the city. Each flyer represented a glimmer of hope, a chance that someone somewhere might have seen their beloved Jessie. Ginger, her voice hoarse from repeating the same heartbreaking story, made countless phone calls to friends, to distant relatives, to anyone who might have even the smallest piece of information. Each unanswered call, each dead end chipped away at her hope, leaving her with a growing sense of dread. Jessie would never just vanish. She always called, always checked in. This silence, it's like a nightmare I can't wake up from. A community united in grief. Word of Jessie's disappearance spread like wildfire through their tight-knit community. Friends, neighbors, even strangers touched by the family's plight joined the search. Weekends were spent scouring parks, canvassing neighborhoods, and distributing flyers.
The local news picked up Jessie's story, her smiling face broadcast into living rooms across the region. Viewers, their hearts touched by the family's raw grief, called in with tips, each one meticulously followed up on, no matter how improbable. The community, united in their concern for Jessie and their support for her family, refused to let her fade into obscurity.
Bake sales were organized, the scent of freshly baked goods mingling with the bitter taste of worry. Car washes were held, the rhythmic splashing of water a temporary distraction from the agonizing wait for news. Each dollar raised, each kind word offered, was a testament to the power of community, a beacon of hope in the face of despair.
False hope and growing despair. Every ring of the phone sent a jolt of adrenaline through Ginger, a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. Was this the call they had been waiting for? Was this the news that would bring Jessie home? More often than not, it was a telemarketer, a wrong number, or a well-meaning stranger with a tip that led to yet another dead end. Each disappointment chipped away at their hope, the constant emotional roller coaster taking its toll. Sleep became a luxury they could ill afford, haunted by nightmares and the overwhelming fear that they were wasting precious time. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still there was no sign of Jessie. The police, despite their best efforts, had little to go on. Jessie's disappearance remained a mystery, her life reduced to a missing persons file, a cold case gathering dust. The family, however, refused to give up. They clung to the belief that Jessie was out there somewhere, that one day they would be reunited. A shocking visit. April 12th, 2024, a date forever etched in the family's memory, a date that would bring a cruel end to their agonizing search. The detectives arrived, their presence a harbinger of news that would shatter the family's world.
Ginger, her hand trembling, opened the door, her heart pounding in her chest. Mrs. Peterson, we have some news about your daughter. We've located her remains. Remains? The word hung in the air, its finality crushing Ginger's last vestiges of hope.
Jessie wasn't coming home. Not the way they had prayed for. But where had she been all this time? What had happened? Detective Miller's explanation when it came was even more shocking, more horrifying than anything they could have imagined.
The fight for justice. Jessie's remains had been found at an offsite morgue facility. She had been there all along, forgotten, abandoned, her body left to decompose while her family was subjected to a year of unimaginable torment. The hospital, in their negligence, had robbed them of the opportunity to say goodbye, to grieve properly, to find closure. The family's grief was now intertwined with a burning rage, a thirst for justice that refused to be silenced. They hired a lawyer, and their determination to expose the truth and hold the hospital accountable for their callous disregard for human life was unwavering. The lawsuit filed against Mercy San Juan Medical Center and its parent company, Dignity Health, sent shockwaves through the community. The allegations were staggering: negligent handling of a corpse, negligent infliction of emotional distress, and violation of California law requiring hospitals to issue a death certificate within 15 hours of death. This is a case of unconscionable negligence, a blatant disregard for human life and the sanctity of death. Jessie Peterson deserved better. Her family deserves justice. Justice for Jessie. The tragic story of Jessie Peterson is a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of medical negligence. A young life full of promise extinguished, a family left to pick up the pieces of their shattered world, their grief compounded by the agonizing knowledge that their ordeal could have been avoided.
The $15 million lawsuit filed by Jessie's family against Mercy San Juan is about much more than money. It's about accountability. It's about sending a message that hospitals, entrusted with the care of the most vulnerable, cannot operate with impunity. It's about ensuring that no other family has to endure the agonizing nightmare of searching for a loved one who is already gone, lost in a system that failed them.
The fight for justice for Jessie Peterson is far from over. It will be a long and arduous journey, fraught with emotional turmoil and legal complexities. But the family's resolve is unwavering.
They will not rest until those responsible are held accountable, until changes are made to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again.